Madam President, the vote that we'll be having later this afternoon is not on the Corker-Hoeven amendment, as I think most senators may have thought when they left town Thursday and Friday. In fact, Friday night we were told the Hoeven-Corker amendment would be filed, and presumably we would then be debating that amendment. But what happened was we went into the night every hour being told it would be soon filed, but it wasn't filed until noon almost Friday. And it wasn't filed as Corker-Hoeven amendment dealing with Border Patrol officers and fencing and some other issues, but it was filed as a complete substitute to the whole bill. So this is a vote this afternoon to give Majority Leader Reid procedural control of the debate. That's his motion to shut off debate on a 1,200-page substitute, 200 pages more than the bill we were looking at last week, and that no one has read. Our senators haven't had a chance to read the bill, to see how the merged language falls throughout the legislation, see what other changes may have been made over the weekend. I was here. We've been trying to get through this, but it's not easy. And I'm sure my colleagues haven't been able to do so. So by filing cloture and blocking any further amendments from being in order unless he personally approves them, and that's the parliamentary situation we're in today. We're in a situation in which the majority leader will approve personally any and all amendments that get voted on. And so he's once again created a situation where senators have to play Mother May I to get a vote on an amendment they feel is important. And this is not how the Senate should be run. A duly elected senator from any state in America should be able to come to the floor and get an amendment voted on without having to have the personal approval of the majority leader. And this trend is accelerated in recent years where it's really damaging the whole role of the Senate. We need more attention to that issue. So this is exactly what happened with Obamacare. The majority rushed through a complex bill so there would be no time to digest what was in it. Just yesterday on one of the Sunday programs, Bob Woodward, the famed writer who dealt with the Nixon scandal and other issues over the years, said this, quote, "When you pass complicated legislation and no one has really read the bill, the outcome is absurd," close quote. I think that's too true, unfortunately. Senator Reid said many times that we have to pass this bill by July 4th. Why is that? Is that his decision to make? Is it the other senators' decisions to make? So to accomplish that goal, he has filed cloture immediately on this new substitute bill. He filed it as soon as it was filed to shut off debate. And that's the effect of what we're doing here. So why is there such urgency to pass legislation of this importance by Friday? I'm not aware that we have any big business after the July 4th recess. We could stay here through the July 4th recess for that matter. As Bill Kristol, the writer and commentator, noted yesterday on one of the programs, quote, "There's no urgency. Can we at least let people read it for a week?" Close quote. Well, the last thing I think the loyal opposition, the Republicans, should do would be to be enablers in the majority plan to rush through the bill before people know what's in it. Why should we enable that? If this bill is so good, what's the harm of letting the senators and the American public have a while to digest what's in it? Why not commit to open and extensive debate? We have an obligation to read a bill before we pass it. If senators have not read the 1,200-page substitute bill, they shouldn't vote to cut off debate. Should vote against that. Let me say what the problem is here. This is a new technique. Senator Lamar Alexander said some time ago that Well, the truth is the Senate doesn't do comprehensive well. I think that was a very serious comment after the failure of this last bill and after Obamacare and its massive power on overreach. So what is happening? What happens is senators get together, as they did with Obamacare, basically in secret. They write a 1,200-page bill, in this case, and they do talking points. Now, the talking points in a big bill like this, and in particular this one, have had political consultants, pollsters, all kinds of people organizing this campaign to drive this legislation through the United States Senate. They've had a response to every criticism. They've had spin in every different ways. They're running TV advertisements right now, I suppose, still promoting this legislation as something it's not. So the talking points are designed to be very popular. The talking points are designed to be very much in accord with most people's views about what good legislation is. Indeed, I liked most of the talking points myself. I would vote for legislation that did most of that for sure, if it did what it said. And then that's what's sold, because nobody can articulate and explain the details of it. And people's eyes glaze over when you talk about it. And people don't understand it fully. So they promote the bill as if it's the talking points, when the talking points do not comply with what's in this legislation. And that's why we have an obligation to study it, read it, and vote on the bill and not the talking points. A few weeks ago, former Attorney General Ed Meese, and Reagan close friend, wrote a letter to the editors of the Wall Street Journal and said, quote, "On legislation as important as this, lawmakers must take the time to read the bill, not to rely on others' characterizations of what it says. We cannot afford to have Congress pass the bill to find out what's in it," close quote.